What's up, everybody? It's Mr. Father Sir, Sir Father Sir, Dad, whatever. Um, this is a video just talking about what really goes down at the birth of a child. So I started taking some videos of the baby, and I just thought, you know what, I'm gonna start a YouTube channel. I wish I had somebody tell me what happens really, what really happens, because you see stuff online, you hear a little bit, but just thought I'd share my story of childbirth. So me and my girlfriend are in Walmart, and she's been having contractions for about a day. At the time, they were just like kind of light cramps. They were happening every 20 minutes or so, and she hadn't had any Braxton Hicks the whole pregnancy. So we weren't really sure what's going on. We visited the OBGYN the day before, and they said, you're probably fine. They didn't check her cervix. If you go to the OBGYN, if your girlfriend's going, I know those checks are very uncomfortable, but maybe get them if you're feeling any type of way. Because, I don't know, maybe we would have known a little more. It doesn't really matter. So they started getting more painful. And then she was like, I want to go check. So we call them, and they say, oh yeah, if you're 38 weeks or full term or whatever, you're just going to go to the labor and delivery section. So we didn't go to the OBGYN. We just went to where you give the baby, birth the baby. So we get there, and it's kind of a process because, she isn't in a ton of pain at this point. She's in pain, like it hurts. No discharge yet. When we get there, and this is going to be graphic, so if I start talking about blood or something, just know I'm not going to have a bunch of gross pictures or anything. But, so we get there, and it kind of seemed like the OBGYN was like, whatever. I don't think. Like, his attitude kind of seemed like, I don't think you're about to give birth. He checks the cervix, and the cervix is 4 centimeters dilated, which I'm pretty sure 10 centimeters is when the baby comes. So 4 centimeters is, it's usually like, go to the place or whatever. But her water hadn't broke, so it was kind of hard to tell, and the contractions weren't so painful. So it was just one of those things. We weren't quite sure. So we get there, they check her cervix, they get some discharge that she had, and they go to check that. So this takes like hours, and it's just really awkward. They're hooking her up to stuff. It's just whatever. Then they say, like, we're admitting you're gonna have the baby, basically. So this is 10 days before the due date. So we're thinking like, wow. We get there at 6 p.m. Remember that time, 6 p.m. Or no, 5. We get admitted at 6 p.m., but we got there at 5. So it took about an hour. Then around 6:30, they get us a room. So now it's like, oh wow, we're gonna have the baby. And my girlfriend did not get the epidural, and I didn't have much an opinion on it, not being experienced in it or anything. And we had heard a lot online, like, if you don't get the epidural, you're able to walk around a little bit more when you're laboring. We thought, hell yeah, that's good. You want to be able to move, stretch, and stuff. If you're in pain, you might want to just like pace around the room, we were thinking. In hindsight, I would suggest getting the epidural. Not a doctor, not medical advice, nothing like that. But I'll get to that. So, in the hospital, pretty normal. They start checking stuff. Then it starts getting more and more painful. And, there's a couple different things you could do. You can kind of like squeeze their hips right here, kind of like as hard as you can, and that will kind of help. So there's a lot of times I was like just squeezing the hell out of her so much. My arms were getting tired. Her contractions kept getting worse, like more painful. I'd be massaging her shoulders and stuff, and it's hard because it was a long day, I felt like. And but then at the same time, you're thinking, I'm only here to support her. So, I tried my best, but after a while, she even told me, like, this isn't doing anything because the pain was so bad. So this is why I kind of feel like the epidural might be a good decision. She was getting so much pain every contraction. She'd just literally like shake. So every single contraction, she was like literally shaking. And this went on for hours. And, they started coming closer and closer together. So, it was really brutal to watch. It's going to be brutal to watch for a man or wife or whatever. Whoever's in the room with somebody giving birth is pretty painful. And now I hear the epidural makes the contraction pain a lot better. So, after seeing it, I kind of feel like, Also, towards the nighttime, so we get there at 5, 6, or whatever. Around 12 o'clock, the pain is just so bad, she can't really walk around anyway. So, we had some ideas, maybe use the squat bar or something. She talks a lot about using the squat bar to give birth. I always joke, like, she's just going to squat down, I'm going to catch the baby. We make jokes like that, but at the end of the day, the contractions were so bad, she was just in bed, just shaking every time. So, nothing really I could do. She didn't want the epidural. God bless her, you know what I mean? So then around 1 o'clock in the morning, so we're there at this point 7 hours. No, 12:30 or 1. Doctor comes in and he asks if we want to get her water broken because it hadn't broke yet. She is 8 centimeters dilated, so it's like we talked about it a little bit. The nurse actually warned us he was going to suggest that. Then he comes in and asks, and we had already talked about it. We said, you're already 8 centimeters. I mean, you're in so much pain. I think it's a good decision to get your water broke. That's a very scary thing to sign up for, because, you can't, when you're in labor, you're in labor. You're not going to reverse the pain. You can't escape the pain or anything. But it's still scary to sign up for, like, oh shit, this is going to happen. So we both, she kind of let me decide, to be honest. She was in so much pain at this point. She's like, whatever you think is best. And I'm like, hey, if it's safe for the baby, whatever. So how they break the water, he kind of came in with this big, it basically looks like a big needle or like something you skewer or like barbecue on. And I didn't pay too much attention. Like, to be honest, at this point, like, I didn't want to look at everything. It was just like, I'll let you do your thing. But I did watch a little bit of it, and, he goes up there, pokes. My girlfriend did not feel anything. So, that is one good thing. She did not feel anything. He pokes, pulls out, that's it. So, she starts leaking a little more at this point, but it's still not the extreme, like, water breaking type of thing, I didn't think. But she's bleeding a lot, and I mean, I guess it's not bleeding, it's the amniotic fluid. But yeah, so that happened. Then somewhere in between this, right? This is something you may have never heard, because I never really knew this. So my girlfriend had to use the bathroom, like, and they told her, hey, you can't sit on the toilet because we don't want you having the baby in there. So you're going to have to do it in a bedpan. And she looked at me and I looked at her, and we were just kind of like, oh shit, like, that doesn't sound that fun. And then she just was like, okay, like, I have to poop. It is what it is. And I'm like, yeah, you got to do what you got to do. We aren't that open about that type of thing. So I'm like, hey, I'll just go hide in the bathroom a minute if you don't need me. She's like, no, I'll go hide in the bathroom. So I was not there while she had to use the bedpan, but she described it as an unpleasant experience. They're very shallow. It's not like your butt has much space, so it's kind of like, I mean, you're just shitting on yourself, to be honest, and you're having to have somebody else wipe you up, and, it just sucked. And, that it was a couple times in labor, because we ended up being in labor for like 9 to 10 hours, so she just asked me to go to the bathroom. I'd go hide like a coward, and then she'd have to do her business. So if you're a pregnant woman watching this, just know that, that's a possibility. You might want to talk about it with your significant other, and just know that could happen. The nurses will help you out. Nurses were super professional. Like, they didn't bat an eye. Like, they helped her out, wiped her off. It was good. It was terrifying, obviously, for her. Like, she hated it. She was apologizing. Anyways, I'll get on with it. You might have to poop in a bed. That's really not comfortable. So then, around 3 or so, she started having contractions where she like was just starting to push. And we had heard that when you get really bad contractions, like when it's about time, your body is not even, you're not going to try to push or anything, because sometimes they say don't, like they kind of wait for you to want to push or whatever. But she just was pushing on the contractions and the pain. So we call the nurse in there, and the nurse is like, okay, like it's game time. So they switch the bed around. They take the bottom of the bed off. They prop her legs. So, you know, her legs are like up like this. And the nurse tells her, because for every contraction, she pushes 10 seconds. So she pushes 10 seconds, takes a deep breath, pushes 10 seconds, and then does it 3 times. So she's pushing. It looks very painful. You know, I felt awful the whole time, just because I felt guilty for her being so much in pain. You know what I mean? So at this point, she's really like out of it, but I almost felt a little comforted because there's like 6 people in the room now. Some other nurses, I think they were just, I don't even think they were doing anything, some of them. I think they just like had nothing else to do, which is cool, because like at that moment, you do not care. Trust me, you do not care who's looking at you. My girlfriend said she didn't even know what was going on, what was being said. So she starts pushing, and then one of the nurses says, hey, she like looks her, gets in her face almost a little bit and says, hey, I know they say to like take deep breaths while you're pushing, but if you want this baby to come today, hold your breath and push as hard as you can. Now, is that good medical advice? I don't know. That's what that nurse said, and I think it was a little empowering for my girlfriend. So at this point, you know, she has her legs up. Then they switch around every now and then. So she'll have her legs up. Then you'll push your legs like this. Then they pushed her legs like together, which was interesting. But they actually had me holding the legs. So if you're a guy who like didn't want to be involved, just know that this is a possibility. They had me holding the legs. So I kind of had this idea in my head that they'd be down on the business side, and I'd be up like, you know, by my girlfriend, like, hey, it's gonna be okay. That was not it. She was folded, because you know, they take her legs and they push them up to her. So she's like, you know, really folded up, and I'm holding her legs, so you can't escape it, man. Like, and then, hey, if you gotta look away, look away. You know, I'm not gonna judge anybody for that. I personally felt like, what else am I gonna look at? Also, there were like 6 people in the room. I'm not about to be like, you know, while I'm holding her legs. So pushing for a while. At some point, I don't know exactly when, and my buddy warned me about this one. There was so much fluid coming out. I think it was right after the head went. But so much fluid coming out. It's almost like, I don't know how much it really was, but it looked like a garden hose of just red and white fluid just pouring out. And nothing got on me or anything. And I don't even think my girlfriend knew what was going on. Hardly. She was like red tomato, you know what I mean? So yeah, brutal and weird, just seeing all that liquid come out, and then start seeing hair. And one of the ladies, the nurses, this is the only thing my girlfriend remembers, the nurse says she's gonna need a bow. Girlfriend's like, what? And I said, she's got hair. So yeah, the next push all the way out. And so she got her head out, crowned a little bit, and you'll see the vagina like really buckling out. Like first it's like, this is it. Say that's it. It'll be like more like out. It's weird. But I almost was like disconnected. Like I knew my girlfriend was right here. This is her face. And something crazy was happening down over here. So I kind of disconnected from it a little bit. It wasn't, I didn't think it was that bad to watch. I just felt bad that she was in pain. So then she did tear. Now this is, you know, something she was worried about. And, you know, she did all these stretches too. So like, if you tear, don't feel bad if you're a woman, because my girlfriend was doing all these stretches, squatting all the time, massages and stuff. I mean, maybe she could have did more. I don't know. I think it was just kind of chance, but I'll describe the tear a little bit. So at this point, this is like the baby coming out. So all you see when you see a tear, and I watched it happen, which is kind of fucking crazy. All you see when you see a tear is you'll see the circle and it looks like it opens. But it's more like this. So you see skin all around and you see it get bigger. And you see skin still, so it almost looks like it just stretched. The only way you're really going to know it teared is you'll see blood right around the part where it stretches. So you'll all of a sudden see blood. You'll see it just looks like it's expanding like that, and that's it. So it doesn't look as brutal as it sounds. Now it sounds brutal, and afterwards she had a lot of trouble. So I mean, she's still healing now. This is like I recorded this video pretty fast. I have a 3-day-old, so whew, yeah. Then my girlfriend's face when she finally saw the baby, she just the joy I felt was crazy. We were so tired. It ended up being, so it was 3:30 a.m. or 3:34 a.m. when we finally had the baby. So we had been there like 9 or 10 hours, whatever. But the joy she had on her face, it just made me feel great. So 3:34 a.m. we have the baby. Now we have a baby, and I didn't really understand what happened after at the hospital. So I kind of thought like we're gonna go through this terrible thing, then they're gonna take the baby away, be in the infirmary, we're gonna get a good night's sleep. So that's not exactly what happened. They had to do a lot of tests. They have to test her, make sure she's not bleeding. They kind of just need a certain amount of time. The breastfeeding consultant comes in and tries to help get the baby to latch. We got the baby to latch, but a painful way. I might talk about that in another video. She's kind of been struggling a little bit with the latch. Hopefully you have a good consultant. But anyways, 3:34 we have the baby. Then they have to do a bunch of tests and all this. Then finally we get in the room we're going to sleep in at 6 a.m. So after the baby was born, it was about 2.5 hours or so before you're in an area where you can even sleep. So, and then they keep the baby with you, which it's nice because you're like, oh yeah, this is my baby, I want to be around. But also, like, I had just been up almost 24 hours, 6 in the morning, and I'm just trying to sleep, so tired. We didn't cry. We were both very happy. We both teared up. She cried the next day, but we were just so tired, like we couldn't do it. And I don't make this video to make people scared of the epidural or scared of not having the epidural or whatever. I don't know. Do what you need to do. If you don't want it, you cannot do it. You don't have to get the epidural. You can make it through. But seeing my girlfriend shake, it just makes me, I kind of question all these. You'll see these videos of ladies online where it's like, my easy birthing story and everything went great, and they don't really get into the details as much. I don't know, man. It feels dishonest. Like, I'm not gonna act like it was peaches and roses. That shit was awful. Like, during the labor, I just kept thinking like nothing is worse than this almost. Like, I knew on the other side we'd feel better. And even the next day we wake up, and you have to get up every, I don't know, 2 to 4 hours or whatever to feed the baby. So we get where we can sleep at 6, but then we got to get up at 8 anyway. A little hard, but it also helped us to adjust. And we stayed in the hospital for, I don't know, 3 nights. Maybe we would have left earlier if the baby had latched a little better early, and also my girlfriend did get stitches, so that's another factor. She did feel the stitches, so the stitches hurt. Delivering the placenta did not hurt. So I don't know. Hopefully this kind of helps you get your expectations to maybe a realistic thing, or at least know what can happen. So, I mean, honestly, like looking back, it feels like a pipe dream. It doesn't feel real at all. Like if my girlfriend wasn't, limping around a little bit in pain, sitting all soft, and we didn't have a baby, I wouldn't even think it happened. It feels so just like a fever dream, And I remember way more than she does. But yeah, I figured I'd document this. Hope it helps somebody. If you have any other questions, just let me know. I'll give my opinion on them, and I'll try to be honest with it too. Like, I'm not here to be some influencer. I just I want to share videos of my daughter and just talk about parenting to men who probably might not hear about it otherwise. So, yeah, good luck out there, dads and moms and whatever else.